Alright then, so we're live. I usually say to the guys we're all here because we're not all there. But that's fine. Who is all there? So it's nice to be here. I haven't seen my friends here on the live video for a while. And not because I haven't been watching the live videos, but because I haven't been live. Here's our regular customer, Michelle. Good evening, Michelle. How's it? I think for most of us, today can either be Thirsty Thursday, the way it used to be. It used to be the 4th day of my weekend. And now it is Therapeutic Thursday. And we got to keep the therapy going. But especially on a Thursday, I think it's a nice boost for the weekend when, we try and stay involved, and being involved with the good things and the right things and all the things that keep us sober is what keeps us sober. And once we're not involved in those things anymore, then we want to know why we're struggling and fighting and all of that kind of stuff. So this evening I'm just gonna, I'm not gonna go too deep into things. I'm glad that we got our enchies back, our cigarettes, and for those that can take a drink responsibly, I think it's maybe about 1 out of 10 of the people that do go to the bottle store, maybe a bit less. But yeah, but a cool drink, please. But hey, everybody needs to decide themselves whether alcohol, drugs, or pharmaceuticals, or anything that you take or something from the hardware store. People use things from the hardware store as well that puts them on a plug. But I think that the person themselves needs to come to the conclusion if something's creating a problem in their life. Nowadays there's all kinds of anonymouses: Shopping Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, Sex Anonymous. There's OCD Anonymous for all kinds of things. And one thing that I had a discussion the other day about the lack of urgency among either our people, our young people, or I don't know. I don't know. Maybe if it was. Hi there, how's it? I'm seeing the messages come up quite quick on my side. I just want to say there that some of our friends have asked us why they can't see all the comments. Is because, say for example, if I'm not friends with Michelle on Facebook, over here I will see all the comments because I'm friends with everybody, and obviously because it's on the live share, and I'm on the page. But just say for example, Lee J and Michelle are not friends, and there's privacy settings on their Facebook, and Michelle maybe comments something, then there is a possibility that Lee J might not see it. But so not everybody always sees all the comments. I see our good mayor of the Breede Valley is watching, that is close to us and supports us, and I like to think that sometimes a person's position does have an influence on them. And I can honestly say, from the first time I met the mayor of the Breede Valley, Mayor Antoinette Steyn, it was more my own insecurities at times that possibly made me feel a little bit inferior. But never once was I treated like less of a person or anything like that most sort of higher profile people do with addicts. Yeah, our mayor's got a tremendous love for our people here, and and we know that we can count on her at any time. So yeah, times change. It used to be Thirsty Thursday, as I said earlier, but there's a saying that goes, times change and people don't. Now I beg to differ, because for some people it's still Thirsty Thursday. Okay, it wasn't for a while because of the lockdown and the alcohol ban and all of that. But Anna, the only beer I drink is ginger beer. Thank you, Keenan. And I've seen a lot of breakthroughs in people persevering through this program, and I spoke about the urgency. I spoke about the urgency in people, and nowadays, when doing something right or doing something thorough or properly is called OCD. Most people say, oh, this is OCD or whatever, because he's taken a room, for example, and he swept it corner to corner. To most of us, that is just the way it's meant to be done. And the lack of urgency as a, I wouldn't say as a nation, but as a people, as a whole, not only in addiction. I thought that it was possibly an addict trait, and maybe it's just a bit extreme sometimes in addiction. But then you get extreme cases in addiction where people are workaholics and perfectionists and all of that, and they won't rest until something's done right for various reasons. So with it being Therapeutic Thursday, I'm proof that maybe times do change, but people do change as well. Because like I said earlier, for a lot of people it is still Thirsty Thursday. And it used to be the fourth day of my weekend. And so, yeah, here we all are. By God's grace, I'm sober this evening. I've got the knowledge and in order to be able to use that knowledge, I get the power and strength from God to persevere and to carry on. And I've been taught pretty well, I think. For a person like me, that I come from a bit of a rebellious background, self-inflicted rebellion, where it was possibility of low self-esteem, maybe, where I would do extreme things to be noticed or to stand out or to be accepted, or just go that one level further. When we were younger, for example, and we were and it was BMX stage, if people were ramping and jumping over 5 bricks, I would try and ramp and jump over 10 to feel some kind of acceptance or some kind of something wrong in the soul, to be better and to be accepted. So that's where we're at. Therapeutic Thursday. We've got a list of guys here, and I was saying that there's been so many breakthroughs on this farm, and I was saying I've been taught well. How's it, Jackie? And I must have been taught well, because what I was taught by Mr. Hall is working for me. I look at myself and I look at how vigilant we are in being at every corner where somebody doesn't get cucked out for making a wrong move, but gets the opportunity to make it right. How's it, Gladwin? Bit of upside down there in room 6. We used to call that the upside down room where Gladwin stayed. Only because we're people that do things a little bit differently. And because we do things a little bit differently sometimes, we get called all kinds of names and things like that. But that's fine. What people think and say about me is none of my business.
That is correct, sir.
And yeah, so I was in reflection to my behaviors and my behavior patterns and things like that and who I was and what I did and part of it is definitely growing up and all of that. But no, definitely I think I was taught well and if I was in a center like I've been before that didn't have a firm hand over me and a firm watch and firm guidance and disciplined in what they do, urgent in what they do, the way we do it here, then I can tell you a couple of stories of being to rehabs and I run circles around the monitors, the counselors, the owners, the psychologists, and even being at Stickland, I go for a test sort of the one day just to check if my mind's all right, and it's part of the procedure and all of that, and so I go there and I'm on a hectic downer. Obviously the drugs is pulling out. I went there for detox and all of that, and the detox meds wasn't really working, so I asked them to jab me with something because I was scared of myself. I was gonna run away, and okay. Besides being called a nursing challenge, which is due to them because I think I was being a bit of a challenge. So I get evaluated there the one day, and you got to answer a set of questions, and then the one day I answer those questions. I'm diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and depression. So I check, okay, maybe I am a bit depressed. I am sort of like detoxing. I've made a lot of shit, and how's it, Lucy? And I've made a bit of nonsense and things, and just phone Mr. Morley. Yeah. And I've made a bit of nonsense and stuff in a bad mood and a bit of self-pity and the blame game and whatnot. So I'm diagnosed with a bit of anxiety and depression, but I'm anxious because I'm thinking of all the shit that might come back to me and that there might be a couple of warrants for my arrest, and I'm depressed because I don't have drugs. So I'm diagnosed with anxiety and depression. Okay, so they want to start me on a course of medication that, on a course of pills that I was addicted to before, and that I would be controlling myself. So anyways, so I'm there for a 7-day detox before I get I go up to rehab in Vereniging, and about 4 days after that first test, the detox meds are working, and I've had a bit of luxuries and all of that, and then the test was taken by another nurse, a different shift, and then they told me that I'm perfectly fine. So it was just dependent on what mood I was in and how I answered those questions, because at that point, how could I have been diagnosed with anything if I don't even know myself? If at that point, through my illness, I am a liar, a manipulator, and all the behaviors that come with addiction. Because all the people's parents that phone me daily or phone us here at RAEL daily tell us what a lovely child they've got and how the drugs have turned them into a different person. So we've gotten so many people in here. Yes, for sure, you get mental illnesses that you don't play with, but we've got a very good doctor that doesn't take shit either, that you can't just tell the right answers to. You can't just Google the symptoms for whatever mental illness and then sit here and tell our doctor that this is how you feel and what you want and what might work and all of that, because the behavior pattern is watched first for a while. The human being that is here, there is time spent on that human being's behavior. And if we were here from 9 to 5 and we only seen our people for an hour session a day, like some of the counselors that I've seen, how would they get to know me and get to know if I'm lying or not lying, or my likes, dislikes, or whatever the case might be? You know, we get to know our people here so well. I can tell you who eats what vegetables and who doesn't like soup, and who likes chicken curry, and who likes bologna mayo sandwiches, and that's how well we get to know our people, man. I get to... Hi there, Michelle. Mrs. van Skalkbeek, Martin's mom. Martin's doing very well. Very, very well. And yeah, I can, you know, we've got a little bit of a, I don't want to call it duties. It's house sort of chores, personal hygiene chores, you know. And I can tell you, we rotate them, you know, just because we're trying to build people up to run their own households one day. That is what we want to do with people. We want to get them off drugs. We want to change their lifestyle. We want to teach them sometimes how to do their own dishes, how to cook, how to make their own beds, and look after themselves, etc. And you know, I can tell you, when I rotate the duties, or when the duties, the person that handles that area, when the duties have been rotated, we get to know our people so well that I can tell you who's been on the bathroom, who's been on the showers, who's on dogs and things like that. And it all comes back down to therapy in some kind of way, because this is therapy, more therapy than... I think the reason why there isn't so much urgency is because it's easier to become that person where you just leave your washing in the shower where mom's going to pick it up, or in the bathroom area where mom's going to pick it up, and or maybe you got the luxury of just putting it in the washing machine and pressing the button. But there's no real therapy in that. So here we start the oaks back at the bottom and teach them the basics and and all of that. And what we practice over and over becomes second nature. So when we practice taking something from somewhere and not putting it back in its right place, that becomes normal to us. Ja, order, there's lots of other words that I use for not for unurgent or no urgency. Leeghat, sloth, sleg, all kinds of things, but it's part of the 7 deadly sins. And if it's a spiritual program and we're spiritual beings, we're all chasing the fruits of the Spirit. We all know that stuff, like I say all the time: love thy neighbor, forgive and forget, and, you know, do unto others what you would like to be done unto you. And, you know, the whole anger management thing: when somebody pisses you off, step away, count to 10 before you retaliate. And we all know those answers that you put on the paper when the counselors give out the papers. But are the counselors there to watch you when you get into a conflicting situation to see if you're practicing this stuff? You know, so I've had all different kinds of experiences, and I'm grateful. You know, the very limitations and rules over here. I've been to rehabs where there's high fences, electric fences, and barbed wire, and then the owner of the rehab tells the people that it's to keep the bad out. Now you tell me if things are done right. I can tell you now, with all our little conflicts and whatever, I can tell you now, if anything wrong, and we've got guys that are very serious about their recovery here, because we don't have electric fences. We've got gates, we've got fences that aren't very high, and I've been to one or two rehabs, or 3 or 4, a couple of correctional facilities and different institutions. And over here, you don't need to run away, but everybody's willing to be here. The very limitations and rules of the automatic rebellion or the fear of the unknown that was in me coming into recovery, at that time you don't see that those are the very rules and limitations that are saving your life.
Correct, sir.
That is the rules and limitations that saved my life. And I still live by them. And we see it. It sometimes happens after a month. It happens after a year. I know people in programs through having good programs becoming complacent. Now, how can you teach somebody about complacency, which is one of the big topics in recovery? Because it goes in with vigilance and discipline and perseverance. How do you teach people about that in 3 weeks? I've been to rehabs where there's an oak there that's there for 2 months, busy counseling people. Now, for sure, you can only give what you've got. You know, and his message of recovery that he's got is only 2 months. But anyways, I suppose all to their own. And I agree with the phone calls that we get of people that's been to some rehabs that have just caused more cuck in their lives than anything else. Because there's some rehabs that I was in up until 2007 where I gave up on rehabs, where I said rehab doesn't work. That kept me out of rehab for another 7 years. I didn't want to go when the help was offered to me because I was convinced that rehabs don't work. Because of the fly-by-nights that I had been to. There's two rehabs in specific that people used to, a lot of people that are standing at the robots today, about 10 years used to be very popular ones that people used to go to. Now I'm getting invites on my page from those owners. Those come here and tell me the stories about how it was there. And I know some of the stories because I've been to some of them. So, because it's Therapeutic Thursday, sorry, I just had to give you that bit of information. But I'm not sorry, because that bit of information could make you and help you make the right choices. I'm not even checking all the comments, Lee J, but I can see you guys are having a lekker time there. I see there, LMK Garth. There's Garth on a ball. Very good meeting the other night, Garth. Was lekker to have a couple of oaks there that, the 4 of us together that was at my place the other evening, mine and Mal's place the other evening. If the 4 of us had to rock up somewhere together, even at somebody's house that didn't know us, just because of the stigma that's attached to addiction, I'm not even sure that all 4 of us would be allowed into somebody's house together. You know, I told the guys in the meeting that Garth, and Garth talks about this openly, because we become an open book. I've been taught by the best, Mr. Hall. That's just my opinion. I don't know if that's anybody else's opinion. And, in our area, I explained to the guys that when Garth used to go to a petrol station 10 months ago, he had to give the money to the to the guy throwing the petrol in before the guy throws the petrol in. It's a little bit different now. Very proud of you, Garth. It's lekker to check you like that. It's lekker to see. And that's what we see with all the guys. I was speaking to one of the older gents here this evening, Uncle Brian. Had a very successful electrical company in Fishhook. And he said, hey, it's almost 2.5 years that I haven't had a dop. And it doesn't bother me. Because automatically through the program that we teach, you lose the desire. To hear Grant, that was also in the picture with myself and Carl and Garth. To hear Grant, that came in here knocking on death's door, say to me, hey, you know what, I actually think that I've lost the desire to use drugs. So that's what happens automatically here. That's why I'm still sober. I spoke about the complacency. And that's what's lovely about this place. Is that if I even get anywhere close to complacent, there's people around me that can say, hey, what's going on there, or what's going on there? Because we're like a big family here. So because there's families, and that's why we're big on education. Families, hey, this drugs just makes caca. It causes chaos. You know what brings me back down to earth every day, or keeps me grounded, is it's almost become normal for me to hear moms start crying on the phone. But then you get phone calls from dads, and they tune, ek weet nie wat om te maak met my seun nie, kan julle my help? Or I don't know what to do with my son. He's a good guy. And that's what I talk about. It might sound like sick when I say that we should get a rehab policy. But everybody's got a hospital plan. But I can promise you now, there's less people that's being in car accidents than people that's being messed up by addiction. Families that's being messed up by addiction. Because just like a car accident or something that's not good that happens, addiction is also something that isn't planned. And the biggest problem that we're facing at the moment is that the people that want it and need it struggle to afford it because they've been depleted by going to these places. And one day I'll speak with my face covered and I'll start name dropping these places. Not so that more people can come here, just so that more people don't have to go wreck their life further. Okay, so there's a chapter in the big book called The Family Afterward. And I think this is very important, you know, because what we need to go through in recovery is because it affects the whole family. Everybody has their attitude and their thoughts on how it's supposed to be, and especially parents, not because they're bad people, but because they're so desperately looking for the answers, and they've got this picture in their mind of how it's supposed to be and what's meant to happen, and all of that. And that's why I'm big on education, because even that sometimes, not knowing the correct answers or not speaking to the correct people, could cause a bit of harm from all angles. I see somebody asked you what's different this time. Yeah, Lydia, I think what's different this time, is because there's a lot of contributing factors to my fall in 2016 when I left here. And what's different this time is that I got complacent, I got closed-minded, I got arrogant, I lost my humility, I stopped listening, I forgot where I came from, and the biggest one is that it became about me, myself, and I, and my selfish desires again. And I had this little picture in my life, in my mind, of what my life was meant to be. And I explained to somebody earlier that because I come from the hospitality industry, I relate the kitchen a lot to recovery. But a busy kitchen. And I explained to them that there's different areas in the kitchen. There's the refilling of things, there's the cleaning of things, there's the rotating of things, first in, first out. There's cold things, there's dry goods, there's the cooking, and there's the cooling down process. And there's a lot of different areas there. And the minute you start slipping in one area, it starts springing out into another area. And before you look, you're just about managing because you didn't keep your hand on the one area. And it spirals out of control. And that's how we've got different areas of our recovery. How's it, AD? Oh. Yeah, I also had one or two other things on my mind at that time, Lee J. Our women folk have suggested certain attitudes a wife may take with a husband who is recovering. Now this can work for the opposite as well. Perhaps they created the impression that he is to be wrapped in cotton wool and placed on a pedestal. You know, the oak gets home from recovery. You want to wrap him in cotton wool, place him on a pedestal, and make sure you're watching and all of that all the time, because that's human nature. We want the best for that person. But what we teach over here is that successful readjustment means the opposite. Remember, my recovery is my responsibility. And a lot of the times what happens is that parents and loved ones, girlfriends, boyfriends, wives, fiancés, transgenders, want the recovery more than what the person themselves want the recovery. Successful readjustment means the opposite. All members of the family should meet upon the common ground of tolerance, understanding, and love. Now what happens is there's 5 of us sitting over here, which I'll just use us 5 as an example. The other guys are busy with step work. Yeah, they should be finishing off now. The 5 of us sitting over here, say for example, we the family. I'm the addict. Okay? Keenan's the father, Lee Jason's the mother, Van is the brother, and Haley the dog there is my girlfriend. So all 5 of us have got our own picture in our mind of how it's supposed to work, what's meant to happen, how it's meant to be. And what happens is the one starts disagreeing with the other one of what me, the addict, should or shouldn't be, or how it should be done. And that starts causing cuck between them. Who's in the middle? The one that always gets the blame? Sorry, these normal cigarettes, Don't just keep burning like the Chicagos and the JFKs. And that causes discord and disharmony amongst the family. But that's why it says here, all members of the family should meet upon the common ground of tolerance, understanding, and love. This involves a process of deflation. So Keenan, who's part of the family, I can't remember who I said he was. He was the father. Eh?
Yes, sir.
Keenan, who was the father, his thoughts and ideas and ego needs to deflate a little bit, because remember, we all want a common goal here. We're all actually looking for peace. Now the addict is sober, the one that was making all the cuck. And the other 5 are sitting fuss all the time. Because of their thoughts, their ideas, and their plans, and anything foreign to that is wrong. And I'm right and you're not. The alcoholic, his wife, his children, his in-laws, and when I say the alcoholic, I mean addict or porn addict or drug addict or pharmaceutical addict or glue addict or whatever your poison is. The alcoholic, his wife, his children, his in-laws, each one is likely to have fixed ideas about the family's attitude towards him or herself. Each one is interested in having his or her wishes respected. Now, at the end of the day, if I've done my recovery properly, I should know what's best for me. That's why I have a sponsor and somebody that's been through it. And if I don't listen to them, Lee J, then 2016 repeats itself. That's what's different this time. I will never not listen to Mr. Hall again. That's the first mistake I made. And I can say that because it didn't happen once or twice. It happened first in 2007. I'd have been sober 13 years. 13 years now if I listened the first time. To somebody that was sharing their experience, strength and hope. For free. Investing in my life. But I don't want to listen. So what had to happen to me? I had to go and feel, man. I had to go and put my family through shit. And the people close to me. From not listening. Yeah, for sure the family feels it. But depending on how far down the scale the addict goes, the addict also feels it, I promise you. Nobody was born or in sub A and told the teacher that I want to become a drug addict and stand at the robots or become a housebreaker or eat 2-minute noodles every night for supper just so that I can rather use drugs. Or sleep in mom's yard. Or in girlfriend's yard. Nobody said that in sub A. Or in grade 1 as they call it now. Each is interested in having his or her wishes respected. We find the more one member of the family demands that the others concede to him, the more resentful they become. This makes for discord and unhappiness. And why? Is it not because each one wants to play the lead? Is it not each trying to arrange the family show to his liking? Just like I said, I've got my picture, Keenan's got his picture. Imagine us 5 are our family here. Lee Jason's got his picture, Vanna's got his picture. Isn't it a bit selfish of them to each want their own picture and want their own way? Isn't it a little bit of codependency or the addict's behavior, previous behavior that has made them ill or that has rubbed off on them? And they maybe need to work on themselves a little bit too. Unfortunate that the addict caused all of this cuck. and affected all of them. But the problem's there now. And the addict can only change himself. And those people can only change themselves. And a lot of the times, like I said, those people, the girlfriends, the loved ones, want the recovery more than that person themselves. I can't imagine what it must have been like for my girlfriend. Or my fiance. To meeting a nice, patient, tolerant, giving, kind, disciplined, neat, respectable person that turned into a pig. Now, pigs are still nice compared to what I turned into. Disrespectful, verbally abusive, manipulating, stealing, aggressive, lying. All of those things. And why is it not? Because each one wants to play the lead. Everybody wants to be in charge. Rather run your own life and your own feelings. We cannot control what is going on around us, and we'll tire ourselves out in the addiction field, or living with an addict and trying to control them. Everybody needs to learn how to cope with their own feelings and their own things that they need to accept. The serenity prayer isn't only there for people in addiction and addiction recovery. That's for everybody. Is he not unconsciously trying to see what he can take from the family life rather than give? Because if you want your way, whichever the family member is, the kid, the wife, the mother, the father, the in-laws, if you want your way, then getting upset when it's not going your way means that you will do something to get your way, which means taking instead of giving or contributing to the happiness. For sure, we need boundaries and disagreements and all of that. Long-term drinking is but the first step away from a highly strained, abnormal condition. A doctor said to us, years of living with an alcoholic or addict is almost sure to make any wife or child neurotic. I go to the shop the other day, and I'm sure mothers and girlfriends and anybody that is close to a person in recovery or addict. I go to the shop the other day when they open the bottle stores and start selling cigarettes. So I go there to spar. First of all, I can't get into the parking lot. So I park around the corner and walk. I park further away than what I live from the shop. I park around the corner and walk down to the shop. And I check one line going from Tops into the middle of the parking lot, running down to the cigarette shop, going to the middle of the parking lot. I see another line coming from the cigarette shop going down to the Caltex, and I skim, okay, like hectic. I'm going to Spar for coffee and washing powder, which should on a normal day take about 4 to 8 minutes, and it takes me probably about 40 minutes. Years of living with an alcoholic or addict is almost sure to make any wife or child or loved one neurotic. And I can bet you now, it's probably normal for any girlfriend or mother to start scheming, hey, I wonder where this oak is, because of all the cuck that I caused before. Because of me lying and saying I'm just going to the shop quickly, and then I go to the dealer or to go sell something, or whatever. The entire family is to some extent ill. Let families realize as they start their journey that all will not be fair weather. The problems don't go away just when the drink or drug is done. There's still going to be disagreements. There's still going to be different members of the family wanting their way. And doing and saying things that are not right to other family members to get their way. Each in his turn may be footsore and may struggle. There will be alluring shortcuts and bypaths down which they may wander and lose their way. Suppose we tell you of some of the obstacles a family will meet. Now, when I read this chapter, I could relate to it. Not only because of what happens over here with families and get-togethers, and because we discuss a lot with families and interact with them and all of that, to find out the best way forward for the whole family. Because the whole family is recovering from the addict's cuck. And I could relate to this because a lot of it happened to me. Suppose we tell you of some of the obstacles a family will meet. Suppose we suggest how they may be avoided, even converted to good use for others. The family of an alcoholic or addict longs for the return of happiness and security. They remember when father was romantic, thoughtful, and successful. Today's life is measured against that of other years, and when it falls short, the family may be unhappy. God, they believe, almost owes this recompense on a long overdue account. But the head of the house has spent years in pulling down the structures of business, romance, friendship, health. These things are now ruined or damaged. It will take time to clear away the wreck. That's why families need to stand together. Though old buildings will eventually be replaced by finer ones, the new structures will take years to complete. So this isn't an overnight 3-week thing and the oak comes out and it's all fair weather, man. Father or the addict knows he is to blame. It may take him many seasons of hard work to be restored financially, but he shouldn't be reproached. Perhaps he will never have much money again, but the wise family will admire him for what he is trying to be, rather than for what he is trying to get. Now and then the family will be plagued by specters from the past, for the drinking career of almost every alcoholic or addict has been marked by escapades, funny, humiliating, shameful, or tragic. The first impulse will be to bury these skeletons in a dark closet and padlock the door. The family may be possessed by the idea that future happiness can be based only upon forgetfulness of the past. We think such a view is self-centered and in direct conflict with the new way of living. Henry Ford once made a wise remark to the effect that experience is a thing of supreme value in life. If I didn't make mistakes, what would I have to learn from? Today I've got the privilege of learning from other people's mistakes. I've got a sponsor that's got 15 years of sobriety, Mr. Hall. 15 years. Go try and find that in the support group meetings out there, man. Of uninterrupted. No drugs, no alcohol, no pharmaceutical binges and all that cuck. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's very scarce in the rooms of recovery and the places where you find a bit of recovery stimulation and medication out there. That is true only if one is willing to turn the past to good account. We grow by our willingness to face and rectify errors and convert them into assets. The alcoholic's past thus becomes the principal asset of the family, and frequently it is almost the only one. This painful past may be of infinite value to other families still struggling with their problem. We think each family which has been relieved owes something to those who have not. And when the occasion requires, each member of it should be only too willing to bring former mistakes, no matter how grievous, out of their hiding places. Showing others who suffer how we were given help is the very thing which makes life seem so worthwhile to us now. Cling to the thought that in God's hands the dark past is the greatest possession you have, the key to life and happiness for others. With it you can avert death and misery for them. And that's what brings me to, with it being Therapeutic Thursday, I hope all of us learn something there. I learn something each time I read that literature that is taught here. With that, it brings me to, that's why we started the Orange Friday campaign. That's why World Addiction Day is coming up on the 21st of September. That's why all these days that were founded by Mr. Hall, the World Day of Prayer for Addiction, and the removing of the stigma. So that if I see Michelle's profile picture and it's got an orange ribbon on it, I can ask her, hey, what does that orange ribbon stand for? No, it's to create awareness for addiction. And then somebody would ask Michelle, but yeah, like you know, you live in Constantia, there's no addiction there, surely. And then Michelle can say, no, but my son struggled with addiction, and this and this and that, and how it was, and this is how I felt. And then it could just help the next family not go through that misery that they're about to go to. And maybe that other lady would say to Michelle, oh geez, so it's a normal thing. I've been hiding it away. So that's why every Friday we wear the orange. You'll notice that a lot of it is repetitive, because this is an ongoing thing. I thought I sounded a little bit like Desmond Dubé there from Clientele Life earlier about the insurance. But more families are being, I almost said the F word, I'm trying not to say it that much, messed up by addiction than by car accidents. Addiction is a self-inflicted accident. Just like driving over the speed limit and knocking somebody over or knocking into another person is an accident. So I asked Lee J to post a thing where everybody can change their profile to orange. I thank Mr. Hall for founding these different days and for giving so selflessly to everybody in recovery. And I've got a list of names here next to me of all the oaks over here. And it's been so peaceful. 30 people that succumb to addiction in the same place on a Thursday night, going into Friday, that are sober. Not saying we don't have any internal problems or internal bad feelings, but we're here to help each other deal with it, and that's how we also remove the stigma. Families should be there to help each other deal with it and give each other hope. And we can start that off by the orange ribbon. Something as simple as that. It doesn't cost anything. Yeah, Michelle, Martin's mom, the World Prayer Day for Addiction is on the 4th of April. Or is it the 9th of April? Okay, I should know these things, but I pray for addicts every day and their families. And maybe that's what everybody can do this evening. No, Gladwin, it's World Addiction Day on the 21st of September. That's coming up. Maybe that's what we can do for each other this evening. I always tell the guys in the program that nobody needs to see you going on your knees or clapping your hands or jumping for joy or whatever. It's your walk with God, because we cannot do this alone. Maybe this evening, everybody that's watching can just say a prayer. I wish I could anonymously play some of the calls that I get during the day, some of the people that we deal with. There's times of the day that I have somebody on the line that is busy telling me their heart sore story about drugs and addiction. At the same time, Mr. Wall's got somebody on the line. And I think hearing those stories is what makes us appreciate what we got. When the system has failed us like it did to a member over here, a couple of members over here, but especially the good results we got for a member today, where I believe if he had to go to prison for a possession case, he would have come out worse. Because like I said in the beginning, I was rebellious because it was my way of dealing with acceptance issues. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be the cool guy. So what happens? You're sitting with that problem that you want people to accept you and all of that. You've fallen into drugs. You go to prison. You automatically mix with the wrong people. So by God's grace, we kept another addict out of prison, which I believe has a better opportunity. I want to thank you all for watching. Thank you, Mr. Wall, and that you've been so obedient to God in your calling. And thank you to everybody for sharing this video once we're done. It might just reach somebody in need. God bless everybody. Good night.